Yo, what's up, guys? I'm gonna be doing a tier list on basically what I think are the top five comps right now. Keep in mind these are just my personal opinions, so definitely been experimenting a lot. So yeah, let's just get into it.
Shark!
The first comp is going to be a Kayle comp. So Kayle's a unit that's been nerfed like a lot of times since PvE came out. She was definitely really busted when PvE came out. Nowadays, she's definitely not that good. The reason I have her in S tier though is because I think that if you are trying to like truly cap your board, say you're having like the most high roll game of your life, you're hitting everything naturally, like you don't need to roll a single time, you're going fast 9. I think your comp should basically always be played around a capped Kayle board, which would be something like what I have here. So I think that I really like RC Ginsu on Kayle. I think that's pretty standard. A lot of people like GA. The thing is, GA on a backline carry in this set really doesn't feel that good. Like Sins are not that strong right now, and even when people are playing strong Sin boards, a lot of times you can just position around it by putting your frontliners in the back, or just peeling with units like Syndra, Rel, Kindred, things like that. The reason I like Deathblade so much is Kayle actually scales really well with AD. When you ascend to your second ascension, you're actually gonna start doing like really good damage. Like you'll be able to kill teams only with Kayle 2 with second ascension. You won't have to wait till for that fourth ascension, because a lot of the times, like you might be overwhelmed by the time you get to 4. Kayle's kind of a unit that can use like almost any item in the game though. So besides that, aura items on Kindred are obviously insane in this comp. Some people used to call it like the Bill Gates comp in set 4. This is basically the same thing, just running like trying to run like all the 4s and 5 class that you can fit in your comp. Basically, just all utility, all buffing up Kayle, insane frontline, insane CC with the volley bear. You don't need to run Garen. Like if you have like a Terra 2 instead, that's just gonna be way stronger than a Garen 1, right? Because it just stalls more for your Kayle. You could consider dropping Lux, and obviously you want to keep your Redeemed in, so you can run Syndra for Invoker if you want. Which will benefit your Kindred and your Heimerdinger a lot. I think Lux is a really great unit though that you should almost never drop. So obviously if you don't need Ironclad, then Nautilus, could be a God King instead. Darius 2, Garen 2, they both work. So it's really just like adapting to what you're playing against. A core of like Kayle with Rel, with Lux, with 3 Redeemed, and then running a Mystic. It doesn't need to be Kindred, it could be a 2-star Lulu or anything like that. Heimerdinger, just like a really great unit, applies Morello to the whole team, does a lot of damage to the whole team. The only other comp that I have in S tier would be Aphelios. So Aphelios board looks something like this. Kayle spot here is pretty flex. You don't need the Kayle, honestly. It really is just like this kind of board with whatever you want at level 8. There's a lot of different ways you can play this comp. I do think like a core of 4 Nightbringer is going to be the best. Like you're always running Aphelios, you're always running Kindred, you're always running Morgana for Mystic with Kindred, and then you're always running Darius, because Darius is kind of like Yone in the set. You can shred armor for your Aphelios, he reduces the need to run Last Whisper on your Aphelios, gives you answers to people playing 3 Ironclad and things like that. Diana is almost always going to be your 4th Nightbringer. Super high value unit, disrupts the backline, buys time for your Aphelios. I think Mordekaiser really fits well in this comp. You can throw any items that you want on this unit. Let's say you have a spare Warmogs, Zizirot, and Redemption. And this Mordekaiser, if he's 2-star, will actually do so much work. Even without Legionnaire. Obviously, you could run Yasuo as a Nightbringer for Legionnaire, so you don't have Darius yet. But I think Yasuo in this comp is not going to be great unless he's 3-star. So maybe if you hit like a ton of natural Yasuos, you could go for Yasuo 3 and then keep him in your late game comp. But Mordekaiser really doesn't need Legionnaire, and Darius just feels so good in this comp because of what he does for your Aphelios. Also, I'm running Rel, Nautilus in this comp. Obviously, if you don't need Ironclad late game, you can consider dropping Nautilus for something like Taric. You can run Lux for 3 Mystics, so you're versus a lot of Vel'Koz, Karma late game. I'm running Nautilus and Rel in almost every comp that you see on this list, and the reason for that is because those 2 units together are just really solid frontline, really solid utility units. 40 armor on every single person on your team is going to be super high value. For Aphelios, Ginsu, Deathblade is his core. The last item, you know, if you verse a lot of assassins, GA is fine. If you don't need GA, you could always go for more damage, something like IE. Recently, they buffed Aphelios to scale insanely well with AD, so he's probably best user of items like IE, Deathblade, Giant Slayer, obviously, or Hodge. Hodge also works. So I don't actually think BT is best in slot on Aphelios for similar reasons to earlier when I was talking about GA. You know, GA backline, it doesn't really do much. There's not that much many sins in meta right now, so items like GA and BT are wasted a lot of the time. I do think that items like Shadow IE or Shadow Ginsu are really strong in Aphelios, and these items deal max HP to yourself. So in that case, BT is going to get value in that fight no matter what, because it's constantly healing you back up to around full HP. So in that case, I would definitely say BT is best in slot if you do have these shadow DPS items. Or items can go on Kindred. Something that you can also do that's really strong, a lot of people don't think about, is Redemption on backline. So what this will do is units like Karma and Vel'Koz are considered AoE damage, and Redemption prevents AoE damage by 30% damage reduction on AoE. So this Redemption on Kindred will actually help your Aphelios to live a lot of the time versus units like Vel'Koz and Karma. So it really lowers the damage. That's definitely something to think about. Secondary carry in this comp is always going to be Mordekaiser, usually, because Mordekaiser is just so fucking good and can use almost any random items in the game. If you have like Spare GA or something, you could throw it on Morgana, but she doesn't really need it because with the 4 Nightbringer shield, she's almost always going to cast once and get a full channeled ulti off. As I said, like you can add a Kayle at 9 for late game insurance. Usually, I would probably just opt into running some more utility and just putting all your faith into Aphelios. So that can be, you know, obviously 3 Ironclad, or it can be a Lux. I think a Lux is a really strong mystic that you can tech into basically every single comp in the game. So if you are starting an item like BF Sword or Bow, you know, maybe try to flex between the two. So next up on the list, we have a Karma comp. This is a level 9 version of the comp. Garen is core in this comp. Karma. Morello is going to be really important in this comp because of the way Karma works. She doesn't do a lot of burst damage. She just does like very consistent chip damage, 300 to 400 damage, like over and over again. So that's why the Morello is going to be so important in this comp, because it helps you deal with units like Taric or Aphelios that's running a BT that you would never be able to kill otherwise. Ivern is going to be core in this comp. Say you don't need Mystics at all, and all of a sudden you have 2 free slots in your comp. So could run what's his face? You can run Taric, and then with Taric, you know, you can run 4 Knights. You can run double God King. Losing the God King buff doesn't matter too much. You can run Jax for more Ironclad, you know, if you are versus those really tanky comps. You don't need to be running Heimer either, so you can run Soraka. That'll give you 3 Dawnbringer. So you have a Dawnbringer spat. I mean, you could also obviously run Riven, just as like a naked 2-star unit in your comp, but it would give you 4 Dawnbringer, so that's still an option that you could go for. You know, this comp is so flexible, like you could throw in like a 2-star Viego and like it would be fine, right? It's a little bit more item specific than Vel'Koz, but I do think that it usually does have a higher cap than Vel'Koz. Next up on the list is going to be Vel'Koz. This is going to be the other main comp inside the AP trees. I really like running the variants with Invokers, with Ivern and Syndra. You're going to notice that this comp does not run any Mystics. I usually don't running Mystics with Vel'Koz, even though Lux actually fits really well in the comp, because it just lets you fit like so many more like high value units. You can also run Heimerdinger over to Soraka. You don't need Dawnbringer for Garen. I just think Garen is just so good and basically every single AP comp right now, because the 70% MR shred is going to be higher than pretty much every single other source of MR shred in the game besides maybe Static Shiv. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, Garen's just a great unit, good frontline, great utility, just everything you want in an AP comp. So you're gonna notice I'm running Garen in basically every single comp that does AP damage. Alternatively, Darius is a unit that shreds armor, and I basically try to run him in every single AD comp. Renewal for Ivern and Heimer is actually really strong buffs. They're both really strong units, and you know, more mana, more casting is actually really good. Zyra, I like to keep items off of Zyra so I can kind of move her around based on who I'm going to be fighting. You want Rel far side of Vel'Koz, you want Zyra far side of their carry. Ivern can be here protecting. Volibear, just amazing CC in this comp, CC that you would otherwise lack. Obviously, you don't need Morello in this comp because if you're running Heimerdinger, items for Vel'Koz are going to be Jeweled Gauntlet, for sure. Shadow Jeweled Gauntlet is like by far, like it feels like the best item on him. Shadow Jeweled Gauntlet is an item that deals damage to you when you cast. It's really good on units that don't cast that often but do one big burst. Basically exactly what Vel'Koz is. Definitely Shadow Jeweled Gauntlet, Gunblade. Gunblade kind of makes it a lot safer. Third item, it can be another Jeweled. It can be a Hodge. It can be a Shojin. Shojin might be the best one out of the three. It probably is the best one. It could be another Death Cap. Honestly, it doesn't matter that much. Especially if you're running Invoker, right? Because you're getting more mana per attack. You can actually run Karma and Vel'Koz together. They actually fit pretty well. Say that you don't really need Ironclad in your lobby, right? And you want to run some Mystics instead. Say you could drop Syndra, and you could run Lux. You could run Kindred for Mystics, protect your backline. You can consider running Karma, so you have like a spare blue buff or something. You're going to be losing Nautilus. Yeah, you would probably be losing Heimer. This is if you wanted to run Mystics. Yeah, so this would be if you were trying to run Mystics with Karma as your secondary carry. Frontline is taking a pretty big hit here, so you would need to make sure that you still have a solid enough frontline to get actual value out of your Karma. That's usually the reason that I tend to run Syndra instead, just for more peel and more frontline and things like that, and just putting all my faith in Vel'Koz. But Karma as a secondary carry in this comp is definitely a pretty solid option. Really consistently strong AP comp that doesn't need as specific items as Karma does. The last comp that I have here in A tier on the list is going to be a Draven comp, and that's going to look something like this. You can run 6 Forgotten with Draven, and it is a fuck ton of AD. However, you are running so many dog shit trash units that I do not really think it is worth it. If you run a comp like this, basically every single unit on this board is going to be a strong unit that's going to get value. You're getting Mystic, you're getting Ironclad, you know, you're pretty durable, you can flex more Ironclad units or more Mystic units depending on what you hit. You know, as you can see, we have the Rel Nautilus frontline. I'm running Darius for the armor pen similar to Aphelios. You can actually flex it so well with Aphelios because as you can see, like a lot of the units are super similar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All 5 of these units, they can go easily into the Aphelios comp. The main changes are going to be you're running 3 Forgotten because that's 3 BF swords for your Draven. Actually, it's even more than 3 BFs if you can end up getting shadow items on your Forgotten units. Some of the best shadow items in this build are going to be, let's see, Dark Blue buff on Rise. If you can kind of get him to like take some damage but not die at the same time, that can be a little tricky to position. Maybe something like second row, or maybe like something like to the far left or the far right. Besides that, you know, you could go for something like Shadow IE with Risk Thirster instead. So Shadow Ginsu, and that's going to give you 30% boost to the Forgotten trait. Draven does get a little bit stupid when he doesn't have an RFC, so this build is infinite damage, but sometimes he can grief. I do think on most AD carries right now, no defensive item is usually the way to go because there's just not that much backline access, and if you position well, you can kind of take care of it. Items like Redemption can protect you from Vel'Koz, Mystics can protect you from all kinds of magic damage. Keep in mind that Draven is going to be self-healing a lot from the Legionnaire buff. That's another thing I wanted to mention though, is you don't need to run this kind of board. You can also go for even like 4 or 6 Legionnaire. If you have like the Riven 2, if you have the Yasuo 2, if you have the Kayle, if you have Legionnaire spat, 6 Legionnaire is actually like so strong. 150% attack speed for all 6 units. You can consider dropping, you know, Viego for it. You can consider dropping Mystics for it. Mordekaiser and Diana are just so good in this comp that I don't know if I would drop those. But say you can't 2-star Diana, you know, you could just drop this and then start running some more Legionnaires instead. It's a pretty flexible comp. Depending on what you hit, I would definitely say, like, you know, this is like a strong core that you can go for. kind of try to change your comp from there. Kind of depends on what you hit, what you can 2-star. You know, you can't always 2-star Mordekaiser, you can't always 2-star Diana. If these units are 1-star, Heartstick 1-star, you're probably going to be better off running some more like upgraded units, like some upgraded knights such as like Tarek, or maybe some upgraded legionaries such as Draven and Yasuo. Although not as strong as Aphelios, still one of the best comps in the game right now, and definitely something that you should consider playing. Last 2 comps on the list. The other comps, what this means is that they're kind of, although they are really, really strong and can definitely win lobbies, they're really situational compared to the other 5 comps, which you can basically, you know, force every single game if you wanted to. First up, we have Soraka, and it's going to look something like this. You don't need to run Coven in this comp. I run Coven because, you know, it's a lot of fun to just turbo buff the Soraka into a fucking literal god. But, you know, you could run Ivern. You know, if you're a bitch, you know, you can run some better units. Run the fucking Ivern. Run some Volibear for CC and stuff like that. But I like running the Coven because it's more fun to just turbo buff the Soraka and watch her hit the entire board for 3,000 damage. You do need a Sinspat to make this work. I think Soraka is going to be the strongest user of Sinspat in this entire set. Honestly, Soraka is just a great unit in general, and I usually do pick her up early if she does fit into my early mid-game comp at all. Transition out of her later if I need to, maybe just keep her around sometimes depending on what I'm running. You know, obviously if I'm running Karma, then I can run Soraka until I have Heimerdinger online. So you know, Soraka's just a really great utility unit, and in this comp she can be a carry. So it's going to be Sinspat plus IE. Honestly, the Jewel Gauntlet, it doesn't matter too much. Any damage item, Death Cap. You could even maybe think about Blue Buff. I wouldn't do Blue Buff because she already has Renewer to get more mana. Giant Slayer, gonna be best assault in some lobbies. Jewel Gauntlet, it's a safe option. She's gonna hit insanely fucking hard. Random carry items, you know, say you have like say you have a spare Blue Buff or something, throw it on Viego. I didn't put it here, but this Morgana really fucking needs GA, ideally Morello. You don't actually need Morello in this comp though, because you're basically just one-shotting them anyway. So Morello doesn't do too much when you're one-shotting them anyway, but the Morgana with GA is going to slow down the fight a lot for you, and it give you a lot of control over the fight, so definitely would recommend running that. If you don't run Morgana, you know, something else you can run is solo frontline Volibear, and that's going to slow down the fight a lot for you as well. I just like Morgana a lot because, you know, she gives you Mystic, she gives you Coven, she buffs your Soraka, makes your whole team a lot tankier. Basically does the same job Volibear would. But yeah, if you do high roll an early Sinspat, you know, give this comp a try. Chalices usually would go on the Blanc. This unit is so strong. You could also do Chalices on Viego if you want, but kind of makes the positioning pretty weird. You can't, you know, swap Viego last second and stuff like that. So, and the last comp I'm going to wrap it up with is Draconic. This is basically the new fortune of the set. I've had, I think, 3 wins with this comp so far. Man, this comp is really, really good and really, really underrated right now. I've been talking to some other high-elo players about this comp. I actually agree with them that Draconic is probably the best opener you can possibly get in the game right now. It's basically Fortune, but you can actually make a pretty strong board at the same time as playing it. They've buffed Udyr so much that this is all of a sudden Udyr is one of the strongest one-cost units. Say your opening board is like Udyr 2 with Set, and then you find like early skirmishers, and you're playing 3 skirmishers, 3 Draconic. I mean, you're getting a lot of extra gold, a lot of extra 2-star units, and your board's not even weak. Udyr can hold items for basically every comp in the game. He can hold Shiv, he can hold attack speed, he can hold AD. I don't know if he can hold AP, but you know, I'm sure he could hold an item like Ginsu. The goal of this comp usually is going to be 3 stars. I think you can get baited into rolling at 7 a lot with this comp, but I actually think rolling at 8 is going to be much stronger. Sometimes, you know, you'll be like 2 offset and you're like, oh, maybe I should say level 7 to finish set. But the thing is, like, those eggs that are hatching on your bench are probably going to give you a 3-star set anyway. So going to level 8 and just fitting another unit in your comp, such as Ivern or Heimer, and getting that 5 Draconic online is just going to be better than rolling for set at level 7, because then you're getting better odds at Ashe 3, you're getting better odds at Zyre 3, and honestly, 3-starring these units in this comp is really, really easy. Like, you're gonna have so many Zyres and so many Ashes, more than you know what to do with. So if you are playing this comp on ladder, I would definitely suggest cutting Udyr late game. Probably, you know, if you need Mystics, throwing some Lux. You know, if you don't need Mystics, Garen's always going to be a good add. in these kind of AP comps, right? Usually you're going to be carrying Zyra 3 in this comp. So you want to be running Spellweaver a lot of the time. Yeah, it kind of just depends on what you hit. I would say that like you really don't need to run Kindred in this comp. It does give Ranger for your Ashe, but if you're running 5 Draconic, Spellweaver is going to be super high value for your Zyra. Because Spellweaver can be the difference between one-shotting the backline and leaving the backline at 10%, and then they heal back up and things like that. So yeah, I think that's gonna be about it. You can check some other videos on my YouTube to see how I won some games with 5 Draconic. It feels really good, and it feels really fun when you do hit. I think that Draconic in this set is going to be a lot more real and a lot more competitive than say Fortune was. Fortune was kind of like, you know, a 1st or 8th play. This one is like you kind of get this lead by getting more gold and just more 2-star units than everyone else from hatching eggs, and you kind of get a lead that way. And it's a lot more subtle. It's still like insanely strong because you don't have to worry about losing or anything like that. You just always play your strongest board. You level up faster than everyone else. You know, you play high tempo, and you know, you can go level 9 and get all the 2-star legendaries online before everyone else. So if you do have the chance to play this opener and to play this comp, I would definitely take it. I think that's gonna be it. That's 7 comps for you guys. You know, hopefully it helps at least a little bit. This is my first time making a video like this. I'm sorry if I'm like stuttering over some words or anything like that. I'm kind of new to this whole YouTube thing. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.
Got a blast!